No one ever brings up the fact that Arnold Schwarzenegger has a fucking accent. He's supposed to be a Los Angeles cop, and he sounds like he's from fucking Austria. Hello and welcome to Blockbuster Reviews. If you don't know what that is, it is where I play a single game of Chill Marathon and try to review a movie before it gets all the way to the top or I get to 150 lines. So the tentative rule is no spoilers until 50 lines, and I don't talk about the movie until the game begins. So 50 lines until spoiler time, and here we start. Get a little comfortable in the seat. Alright, Last Action Hero was a meta action film from '93. Now, if you haven't heard of it, I'm not surprised, but also I'm saddened, because it was one of my favorite movies as a youth, and I'm pretty sure I didn't even understand why. It is a meta action movie in that it's aware of itself. It's an action movie about action movies, and while it didn't do very well, it thought it was going to do gangbusters. It's one of those movies that just lost a fuck ton of money because it did a huge ad campaign. It thought it was going to be the new hit action movie, and then when it flopped, they wasted just a fuck ton of money. Now, as I screw up that right there, I'll fix it right here. Now, it is a movie about Danny Madigan, who is a fan of film. Specifically action movies. He is, I believe, in middle school. He's either in middle school or starting high school. And he loves a specific, what's the word that I just lost? Franchise. He loves a specific action franchise called Jack Slater, which is played by Arnold Schwarzenegger, who is in this movie as himself and as this character Jack Slater, where it is, you know, a classic action movie franchise where there's just numbers for the name. The movie actually starts with the ending of Jack Slater 3, which is just, you know, bombastic and ridiculous and involves him punching the lieutenant governor in the face and stomping over cop cars. And the ending of Jack Slater 3 is actually poignant because it involves the death of his son. And in the Jack Slater verse, we can see that there will be a movement towards more serious topics, because in the movie itself, they talk about some of the plot points of Jack Slater 1, which were absolutely ridiculous and insane. And that's not what this movie is about. This movie is about Last Action Hero. It is about Danny Madigan, who he has befriended the owner of a shitbox theater. I'm talking the worst of the worst. When we cut back from Jack Slater 3, it's because Danny Madigan is cutting school to watch Jack Slater 3 in this shitbox theater. And his friend Nick, who runs the theater, fell asleep and the focus went out. And it's to highlight, well, this kid, he grows up in a shitty part of New York. It's probably the shittiest looking New York I've ever seen. But then again, I haven't watched a lot of those 70s cop movies with New York. I don't know why I singled them out, but I know that there are movies out there that really highlight shitty New York, like, what's that movie? Midnight Cowboy, I think it is. I watched that movie. New York used to be a real shitty place. Not much has changed. Haha, fuck you, New York. Anyway, the point is, he loves movies. He's in a home with a single mother who is doing her best to, okay, spoiler alert. Oh my gosh. I'm not even into like a fifth of what I want to talk about in this movie. So he agrees with the movie theater owner Nick that he'll come by at midnight. I'm going to use the speed of these bricks to tell a story. He's going to check the print for Jack Slater 4 that night and asks if Danny wants to show up at midnight. He can watch it with him, so he's super stoked. He plans to be there. His mom's pissed because, you know, he skipped class again to watch movies with Nick. It's very Back to the Future-esque, where you're like, how did this kid meet this old man? Anyway, he goes, after being robbed, to highlight the differences between real crime and fake crime in this movie. He gets robbed by a real junky-looking dude. He doesn't take much because they don't have much in their apartment. He doesn't have no jewelry. He goes to watch the movie, and before he watches the movie, the ticket taker, who is the owner of the theater, gives him a magic ticket that was given to him by Houdini that is supposed to have magical powers, and those magical powers are, they'll bring you into the movie. So Danny Madigan shows up in Jack Slater 4 and has to, in Jack Slater Jack Slater 4, oh, that's going to happen a lot. In Jack Slater 4, he has to go through the story with Jack Slater, played by Arnold Schwarzenegger, and get to the bottom of the story of Jack Slater 4, but he is a active participant. He is in the movie with Jack Slater. He has become kind of the comedy relief, and the movie gets a lot of their comedy from the fact that this kid is trying to explain to this fictional character that he is indeed fictional. And there's a lot of examples, like there's no unattractive women in California. They go to a police station in New York when he gets robbed, and he ends up going to the police station in Jack Slater, which looks like a fucking movie studio, and it has a bunch of cameos from other action stars. I'm not going to spoil that. You should just go see the fucking movie. But he also tries to get him to curse because it's a PG-13 movie and he's not allowed to use certain words, and he won't do it. He's trying to get him to see that this is a movie universe. There's an animated cartoon cat, which he just plays off, even though animated characters don't exist in reality. It's funny and cool, and the biggest one, which no one ever says, and I think it's in his contract, no one ever brings up the fact that Arnold Schwarzenegger has a fucking accent. He's supposed to be a Los Angeles cop, and he sounds like he's from fucking Austria. And he never at any point goes, hey, what about your fucking absolutely ridiculous accent there, Jack? And your name is Jack Slater, and you have the voice of a fucking, like, cartoon character from Austria. Not important. What is important that I need to get to, the villain of the movie is played by Charles Dance. Is that his name? I put up the... Charles Dance, who is in Game of Thrones, I think Tywin Lannister. Dude fucking kills it. It's one of the coolest, absolutely coolest villains, because you understand the stakes. We're dealing with altered reality. And in the movie Jack Slater 4, there is an assassin who is infinitely smarter than all the other people, and I think that would play very well in that movie, where I imagine he would be the villain in Jack Slater 5 if we were to see the movie as it really is. But in this movie, he discovers, holy shit, this kid is from a different fucking plane of existence. And he does what the smarter character would do and go, what are the possibilities of visiting other worlds? I can commit crimes and then get out. And he realizes, in like the third act, the big climax of this movie, he gets out into the real world. He steals the ticket from Danny Madigan, and he goes to the real world, where he discovers, in shitbox New York City, crime can just occur and people don't do anything. And then it's him realizing the stakes of now his existence and how he can use that to his advantage to do crazy shit. And probably the most awesome line in the movie from this villain, his name's Benedict in the movie. He looks at the camera. He looks straight to fucking camera, and he goes, if God were a villain, it would be me. He would be me. And I was like, fuck, this movie is so much better than it gets. And of course, you know, I understand why the critics didn't like it at that time, because it's really heady and pretty outrageously indulgent in action movies and treating action movies as if they were art. And they even go so far as to bring in Sir Ian McKellen to play Death. I'm not even going to explain why they do that or how they do that, but it's so fucking crazy because Ian McKellen shows up as fucking Death and talks to the characters. The personification of the Grim fucking Reaper. It's crazy. Also, Pete Sampras' wife, I only know her as that because something Wilson Sampras. I don't know if they're still together. This is gonna completely out of nowhere. She was in oh my gosh, I'm running out of time. She was in the Mortal Kombat movie. She was in Billy Madison as Veronica Vaughn. She's in this movie as Arnold Schwarzenegger's daughter, and she, I think, was supposed to be the character that walks with Arnold in the movies. Oh my gosh, I guess I'll leave on this. Go watch. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna actually die instead of get to the thing. Holy shit boxes. Oh my gosh, this is gonna be the first time ever. Oh my gosh. Go see the movie. I think if they should, I think they honestly should reboot it, which is like kind of sacrilege in this day and age. I think they should reboot it because a lot could be said about these action reboots. With if there's a single movie that could lampoon and talk about these action reboots being rebooted, it would be Last Action Hero, which that was what it was about. It was about action movies, being a fan of these action movies, knowing exactly where they go, and I died. 149. End it. We're done. I'm not talking about that movie anymore. Go watch it. Last Action Hero. I give it an A, even though I didn't get one because I failed. How weird. Probably one of the movies I've loved ever since I was a kid. I failed, and I should be done talking about it. So go watch Last Action Hero. Have a good one.